People continue to cross over illegally as they have for, what, 100 years, 200 years?
So it's the same.
I think that one of the funny things that has
That's not
happened
honest.
is that for months, I'm sorry, I think we're talking over each other.
No, I'm saying that's dishonest. You're saying don't trust the Republicans on their messaging, and you come on here and want to tell me that it's the same. Like they're just continuing.
No,
there's been no increase.
There have been periods of
a couple of months ago we had 10,000 a day crossing the southern border. Go ahead.
Yeah. David Pakman gets completely shut down on the Megyn Kelly show as he tries to defend the current administration's mistakes. Megyn Kelly and her guest don't hold back, calling out Pakman's nonsense. Honestly, I've never seen Pakman debate anyone without that soft, condescending tone. He always comes off as dismissive, and Megyn Kelly definitely notices it too. She doesn't let up and keeps pushing back against soy boy David Pakman.
These folks are desperate because they've lost everything since Trump won by 77,000 votes in 3 states in 2016. And let me lay this out, Megyn, if I can. It's been 8 years. After that squeaker in 2016, they blew the 2018 midterms. Trump got defeated in 2020. The 2022 red wave led to Democrats growing their margin in the Senate. 2023 was a disaster. After repealing Roe v. Wade, every referendum on abortion has gone the opposite way. So there's an incredible desperation. And I have to say, Hogan, this is not a personal attack in any way. You seem like a really nice guy. We don't know each other. There's almost an affirmative action with these Trump folks where if these were football coaches that had lost everything for a decade, Kayleigh McEnany wouldn't be on Fox News. We wouldn't be going to Hogan and saying, give us your state. They've lost everything. And somehow, through some kind of affirmative action, I guess we still hear from them. But they're desperate, Megyn, because this has gone sideways for a decade.
Wait, what are you suggesting, David, that because the Republicans have had a rough couple of electoral cycles, everyone who is on Team Trump should just go underground? They shouldn't speak anymore,
no,
even though he's
going
to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm glad to hear from Hogan, but there's a degree to which we would say, wait a second, how could his analysis, or it's not about Hogan, how could any of these analyses really accurately reflect reality when these are the analyses that lost them everything in 4 or 5 elections in a row? I would approach it with caution.
Go ahead, Hogan. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Okay. Let's unpack that. By that rationale, I guess we should never hear from Hillary Clinton again either, because she lost. Any Democrat who loses an election, you can't hear from them. Anybody who worked in a White House, worked in administration, shouldn't have a say-so in what's going on in this country. Of course, this is a battle between those who love America and those who hate America, because the positions of both parties they've been clearly articulated now for a long time. And so I think moving into 2024, as we kind of reset, and now we've lived under the failed policies of Joe Biden for the last 4 years, where Americans have been kicked in the teeth. They can't afford gas and groceries. Crimes are spiking all over their communities. Wars are breaking out all over the world. The southern borders bringing in, fentanyl, killing our American citizens, human trafficking, child smuggling. It's all up. I think the stark reality of the fact that we've got an upcoming election where these two men uniquely have a record, not as a governor saying, if you elect me, I promise I'll do this. I'm a senator. I did this for my state. Both of these folks were president. The records are stark. And the juxtaposition where we used to have to point back to Reagan, Megyn, you just played an incredible speech. Remember how good it was in the 80s? We can say we had record-setting success in record-setting time 3 years ago. It took one guy and his demented policies to tear us down this quickly. So this election, no question, is going to be significant for the future of America. But to say someone who lost an election or wasn't part of the winning team shouldn't have a say-so is so insane.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, of course I'm not saying they shouldn't have a say-so. What I'm saying is at this point, it seems clear the American people see through it. And the people who lost 5 elections in a row are not the ones I'd be listening to on policy. Now, with regard to a lot of the stuff that Hogan mentioned there, we can go but one by one or not. I mean, just to pick a couple of things, because there was a lot there. On inflation, I mean, listen, groceries and gas, they were even cheaper under Obama. they were even cheaper under Bush and cheaper under Clinton. I mean, yes, there is inflation. We have not had a deflationary spiral, but inflation's at about 3% right now, which is what every serious economist says is the target. With regard to the record right now, unemployment, I mean, it's almost silly for me to do this because the American people know, but we've never had unemployment below 4%. We've never had unemployment below 4% for this long in 50 years, and it remains there. Wage growth has outpaced inflation. GDP is a completely normal and healthy 3%. You know, it's like people know this.
Why don't you try immigration? Because that's in the news today, David. Take that one up.
Well, I mean, ask me a question about it. What's
are we doing better under Joe Biden when it comes to illegal immigration than we were under Trump?
How do you define better?
Here's exactly what I was talking about, folks. David Pakman always acts nice, but he never gives a straight answer. Instead, he dodges the real questions and plays clueless, like when he asks, are the numbers up or down? When the answer is clear. But he won't answer directly. He never does. That's the issue with progressives and leftists like him. They avoid giving simple yes or no answers, acting as if things aren't obvious. Megyn Kelly and her guests see right through it. He keeps dodging the real issues and brings up things that don't really matter while ignoring the bigger problems. Look at food, gas, fuel. They've all gone up by 30%, 40%, even 70% depending on the product. Yet Pakman wants to focus on just 3%. This is why I can't take him seriously. He doesn't debate honestly. He just dances around questions and plays games. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. If you're enjoying, leave a like and let's dive back in.
Fewer.
People continue to cross over illegally as they have for, 100 years, 200 years?
So it's the same.
I think that one of the funny things that has happened
not honest.
is that for months, I'm sorry, I think we're talking over each other.
No, I'm saying that's dishonest. You're saying don't trust the Republicans on their messaging, and you come on here and want to tell me that it's the same. They're just continuing.
No,
there's been no increase.
There have been periods of
a couple of months ago we had 10,000 a day crossing the southern border. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think we're all talking over each other.
Now go ahead, David. The floor is yours. Wait, Hogan, I'll bring you in, but let me defend that. Go ahead, David.
Oh, okay. No, listen, I mean, based on the Border Patrol statistics, there have been times during the Biden administration where crossings have on average been below where they were under Trump. At some points, they were above that. The funniest part to me about immigration is that now that Republicans themselves torpedoed the bill they wanted because Trump said, no, I need something to run on, I need something to do, Biden puts in place this limitation, which, by the way, doesn't solve the reason people are trying to come here. We need more immigration judges. I'm glad Biden made this point. Now that he did it, they're still not happy. And they're saying, well, it's only for political reasons. Why do you think Trump wanted to do this? It's also for political reasons. So this seems like a political game to me when the reality, Megyn, is we never permanently deal with DACA. We never permanently deal with the reasons people even want to come over here in the first place. It's a lame political football.
Wow. Okay, go ahead. It's fascinating to me for me to hear. I have to say, David, I appreciate you coming on the show because we don't get a lot of progressives, and they know I don't really agree with them on most things. I
don't know why not.
I actually really I appreciate you being here and saying, the way you see these things and the way the left views these things, because it's actually educational.
Well, I don't know about the left, but listen, I'm on the left. Countries have a right to enforce immigration policy. If you're here illegally, of course, you're subject to deportation. I mean, I think that there's a caricaturizing that happens of the left on this issue. I'm an immigrant from Argentina. We came here legally. I'm now an American citizen. People still write to me and say, you should go back to Argentina. But listen, I don't want the left characterized as something that it isn't on this issue. You'll never hear me say a country doesn't have a right to enforce policy. Rights.
Otherwise, we'd have different policy. I mean, Hogan, you work for the Trump administration. The first thing that Joe Biden did when he took over was to reverse the three principal things that Trump was doing to stop the flow of illegal migrants across the southern border, the Remain in Mexico program, the asylum seekers en masse, and the construction of the border wall. He shut it all down. He sold off all the parts. You couldn't even try to rebuild the wall thanks to what he did. Yeah, there was. Yeah. Go ahead, Hogan.
All right.
You can clearly see the same tactics here again. The real issue is being dodged here by David Pakman and others like him. First off, let's deal with facts. There are 75,000 tons of materials just sitting at the border left to rot because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris halted construction of the wall. This is taxpayer money that's literally going to waste, all while our border remains wide open. Construction was already underway, but they stopped it. And yet Pakman won't even acknowledge the massive spike in illegal immigration that followed. Now let's talk about the numbers. Since Biden took office, illegal immigration has skyrocketed, over 2 million border encounters in 2022 alone. That's an undeniable fact. And Pakman's response? He shrugs it off, saying, "Oh, well, illegal immigration has always been an issue. Sure, it's always been a problem, but never like this. It's this soft, dismissive attitude that lets the crisis fester and worsen." And here's the real kicker. If illegal immigration is a crime, and it is, then by allowing more of it, this administration is increasing the number of crimes against their own people. Think about that. They're actively encouraging lawbreaking, and who suffers? Hard-working, tax-paying Americans. People like you and me are left to deal with the consequences while they pretend everything's fine. Megyn Kelly sees right through Pakman's BS, and so do I. He dances around the truth, refuses to give a straight answer, and focuses on distractions like 3% this, 4% that, while ignoring the real problems. Food, gas, fuel prices up 40%, 50%, 60%, depending on where you look. That's the reality we're facing, and Pakman just keeps tap dancing around it. I wish Megyn Kelly would ask Pakman straight up, if you're so convinced the border's not a problem, why are people like you refusing to acknowledge the facts? Let me know what you think in the comments, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe.